Cool. Here we go. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to our fourth Wisdom and Wanderlust Wednesday webinar. My name is Michael Bennett, co-founder of ExplorerX, and on behalf of the entire ExplorerX team here in the States and around the world, including our good friend Paula in Portugal, welcome to today's webinar. For those of you that are new to the ExplorerX community, we are a Seattle, Washington-based travel company. We do a little bit of everything from really carefully crafted, custom designed travel experiences for solo travelers, couples, and families, all the way through scheduled small group departures to some of the most remote and extraordinary parts of the world. Beyond that, what really makes us special is that not only do we help plan these extraordinary travel experiences, but we really look at our work as an opportunity to invite and inspire and guide and support you in using those experiences as a tool for shifting perspectives, as a tool for increasing cultural awareness and understanding, an opportunity to learn and grow, to rekindle curiosity, to unleash creativity, and ultimately, to use travel as a tool for and an inspiration for taking courageous action in your life, right? And not just action that creates change in your life, but really action that creates change in your community and in the world at large. One of the things we say often here at ExplorerX is that the only reliable source of action in our lives is how we see the world, right? And so we really look at travel as an opportunity to, again, not only have a great time and enjoy the food and the culture and the people and all of those things of the different destinations around the world, but also as an opportunity to shift the way you see yourself in the world. And in doing so, if you believe that the only reliable source of action is how we see the world is true, and I do, then travel can help us, create really powerful changes and take inspired action in our lives. So that's what we look at our job to do. And so again, it's not only planning this outer journey, but also helping you and guiding you and supporting you on what we call the inner journey, the learning and the growth and all of those things. And so you can learn a lot more about how we do that, what those programs look like. You can meet our team and learn more about our philosophy on our website, which is explorer-x.com. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us at travel@explorer-x.com as well. But for now, welcome and thanks for being here. Today we have, as I mentioned, the great pleasure of having our good friend and team member Paula Alves here from Portugal. Portugal is a really special place. Paula is a very special woman. I had the really good fortune and the opportunity to go and spend some time with Paula and our team in Portugal in November this past year. And, I hadn't been there before. I'd heard many good things about Portugal. I was trying to temper my own expectations because everybody talks about how incredible it is. And so, I went in with a sense of curiosity and open mind and obviously excitement to see what was going on there. And frankly, I was just blown away. The warmth of the people, the traditions, the history, the culture, the food, the incredible adventure activities that are there. I mean, it has so much to offer. And when we talk about seeing the world through new eyes, I mean, it really, my trip to Portugal certainly helped me, rethink a lot of different things that were going on in my life. And so I think you'll love it. You're going to learn so much today from Paula. You'll have an opportunity to connect with us afterwards if you want to learn more. So yeah, I will say, I think my favorite part of my experience in Portugal was the food. It is outstanding and delicious and abundant. So if and when you go to Portugal, just be prepared to feel like a stuffed hippopotamus while you're there, because you are going to have a chance to eat some of the most amazing food in the world. So anyway, I'll stop rambling, but for now, we're excited to have Paula here and to welcome you to and share a little bit more about our passion for Portugal with you today. Before we begin the experience, we hand it over to Paula. We did want to take a second just to kind of introduce ourselves and give you a chance to get to know our team a little bit better. As I said, my name is Michael Bennett. I'm one of the co-founders of ExplorerX. every week we're going to start doing a cool little like question of the week, so you get to kind of know us a little bit better. This week's question is how and what inspired us to get into the travel industry in the first place. And so for me, I was working on and finished a graduate program in 2012, and my research was on how travel can be a tool or a catalyst for learning and growth in adults. And I started to look around my family and my friend group, and I saw all these people that were having outward success, but inner turmoil and inner struggle. And I knew from my own personal travels that every time I would get out there, every time I would start exploring the world and start asking questions and meeting people, I felt a sense of openness and curiosity and clarity. And, some of the questions that I'd been asking myself, I found answers to, but I also found a lot of new questions that I started wrestling with. And so I really wanted to say, hey, how do I bring this experience to more people? How do I leverage this degree that I just got, right, and all the wisdom of my own travel experiences to help and support and guide others in having really powerful travel experiences of their own. So with all of that being said, I launched a travel company called Muddy Shoe Adventures back in 2012, and 6 years later, that merged into and became ExplorerX. So anyway, I'll stop talking, but I'm really happy to be here today and excited to have you learn more about Portugal.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Robin. I'm a custom travel designer with the ExplorerX team, and I also help with some of the small group journeys as well. Regarding what led me to or inspired me to join the travel industry, I caught the travel bug from a young age, following my parents around Europe and then studying abroad in Australia and Fiji. And I just knew I wanted this to be my career and what I got paid to do in my everyday life. So I then entered the industry with a focus on Africa and Latin America. And over the years, I've accumulated experience in various international destinations as well as US domestic-based trip design. And I'm originally from Washington State, but I now work remotely here in Bozeman, Montana.
Hi everyone, I'm Amanda. I manage our small group journeys and assist Robin with some of the travel design for our custom journeys. I grew up in Michigan and got started in travel in high school with a 3-week student trip to New Zealand and Australia. The next summer, I loved it so much, I spent 6 weeks on a student program in Ecuador. Then in college, I kept going, spent 4 months traveling Europe, visiting 14 countries. And I was in school for psychology and decided, wouldn't it be great to not only combine my love of helping people with also combine with travel. So I came back from Europe and decided to work part-time while I was still in school as an office assistant for a travel company. And that grew to managing their Africa programs. And I've been now in the industry for about 15 years, mainly focused on nature and wildlife, but just love being able to help people and help people explore the world. So it's been a fantastic journey.
Hi everyone, I'm Paula. I'm part of the ExplorerX team here in Portugal. And to add to what the team has been saying about loving travel and what got me into travel, well, I was born in Portugal, grew up in the US, moved back, and have been living here for 27 years now. And I absolutely love Portugal. So helping you discover Portugal through all of that we have to offer is really a delight in life. And I'm outside because we're going to be talking about cork in a little while. And I just wanted you to see my cork tree, cork oak, right here. It's very small, still, very young, and I'll explain a little bit about that later. And I also want you to notice the amazing blue sky. It's 7 p.m. here. It's absolutely gorgeous. The weather is like this almost all year round. I'll meet you in a bit and we'll discuss more about Portugal and about cork.
Awesome. Thank you, Paula. And thanks so much, everyone, for joining. I wanted to start out with a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, we're going to do our best to keep this to an hour, including time for questions. as I know everyone has busy lives they need to get back to. We are recording this, so if you need to duck out or if you want to share this with somebody afterwards, I will be sending out the link tomorrow. And if you have any general questions during the webinar, please take notice of the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen and enter them there. We will address all the questions at the end of the presentation, but if you do have an immediate concern in the middle of the presentation, you can go ahead and use the raise hand feature, also found at the bottom of your screen, and we will address that sooner. And last but not least, please make sure to pay close attention and stick around, because we will be asking a trivia question at the end of the presentation related to what you just heard. And the first person to answer correctly in the chat box, which is different from the Q&A box found at the bottom of your screen, will win an Explorer X branded Yeti tumbler. And Michael, do you have that handy to show?
Yep, there it is.
Awesome. So that's what you have a chance to win at the end. And with that, I will let Paula take it away.
Is my Hi? It's on? Okay, sorry. Hello again. I'm back inside and ready for a show and tell about work, but before that, I just want to give you some ideas of Portugal. Portugal is the westernmost country on the European continent, so we're here in the Iberian Peninsula, right next to Spain. And it's one of the oldest European countries as well. Our borders were established more or less in the 1200s, and they've remained the same ever since. Coming to Portugal is really discovering history, culture, and our main asset, in my opinion, are the people. The people in Portugal are extremely hospitable. They go out of their way to make everyone feel comfortable. If you go to someone's home, you'll never leave without them giving food, tea, coffee. You have food everywhere. The food's amazing, the wine's amazing. And visiting the country is really easy because it's not a very big country. It's a small country to visit. It's a rectangular shape. And you can easily go from north to south in a few hours and visit a number of amazing cities and historical monuments, museums, enjoy the old towns and all of the influences we had from Roman and Arabic periods. That said, I'm going to get into our topic of the day, and you can see I kind of have a cork tree growing here behind me. Just kidding. And I have a few pieces of cork right here, which will help for you to understand a bit more, because my job is very, very small. And I'm going to say that I don't know how old it is. I've had it for 4 years. When it was planted, the gardeners weren't sure how old it was. So this is a piece of a bark of a cork tree, and it's probably from a secondary brand, I would assume. It's really not useful for much, but what I love to use it for is...
I'm so sorry. The connection's not awesome. I wonder if your phone might be better.
Really?
Yeah, it's
okay.
a little choppy, and so you're fading in and out a little bit. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh my God. It's okay. Let me turn the phone on, because I turned it off.
Okay.
I turned it off so that it wouldn't give feedback.
Yeah.
And I'm turning it on.
No problem.
This usually
Did you say there's
doesn't
an
happen.
actual cork tree behind you there?
No, I was joking around. It's part of a bark. It's a huge part of a bark of a tree.
You should have just said yes. I would have believed you.
I could have said I planted a cork tree in my living room. So let me just see if I can.
Sure.
Share the Wi-Fi.
Of course, now it seems better. So well, while we're sitting here and while we're waiting for Paula, instead of just having dead time, um, I don't know, you guys want me to share a little bit more about my trip there last year? Would that be of any interest? Okay, cool. So I was there in November, spent like 9 days there, which was not nearly enough time. Flew into Porto, and you know, I didn't have a whole lot of expectations for Porto, but it was amazing. I mean, you hear about port wines and it's all of that stuff as well, but you know, the property we stayed at was like a little like 12 roomer, you know, right, you know, 2 blocks from the river. It's small, it's quaint, it's cute. I mean, there's tons to do. There's an amazing bookstore there, which is the bookstore that J.K. Rowling used, you know, as sort of like some of her inspiration, and even wrote some of the Harry Potter books there, from what they say. So just an amazing. Oh, you back?
I'm so sorry. Something's wrong, and this isn't working properly. Am I still choppy?
It seems to be okay right now.
It does?
It does for the time being, yeah.
Okay, so we'll try it and see if I can get my phone on. Well, the thing is, living in the countryside can be an issue sometimes. And this is the issue, getting good internet. It's wonderful to live.
Where do you share with everyone where you live?
Yes, I live 30 minutes from Lisbon, and I live in the middle of vineyards and farmland and growing cattle and sheep, and it's just gorgeous and beautiful, and I feel like I'm going on a weekend every time I come home, like I'm going on, you know, a getaway, and no, I'm not, I'm coming home. So it's amazing, but then there's the cons, and the cons are, when you need the internet to work, it decides not to. So I'm checking to see if my phone goes on, just in case we may need to use it, and sure. We'll try to see if this will work.
You're crystal clear right now, at least. So
it's clear right now? Okay, so let's keep our fingers crossed that we'll be able to talk properly, and I'll be able to tell you some important facts. Perfect. So basically, the cork oak in Portuguese, is called sobreiro. Sobreiro. So this is national heritage in Portugal and is national tree since December of 2011. And the cork tree is an extremely generous tree, the cork oak tree. Because, and I say it's an ultimate friend, because it's a tree that gives a lot and takes very little. And why? Because the tree really, you know, it lives from light, and it survives in any kind of environment practically. I mean, it doesn't have to rain, it needs little water, it can be in dry climates for a long period of time, it can survive at 1,200 meters above sea level, it lives for a number of years, 200 to 300 years, if it's not used for cork production. If it is used for cork production, it will live less, more or less 200 years. It's an amazing product because it's fully natural. Cork is 100% recyclable, reusable, and renewable. So it's extremely ecological and sustainable. It's one of the most sustainable farming opportunities. And also the cork protects the tree from fire, because cork it's not flammable. So the tree's protected from fire, and also it's an ally against forest fires because it will prevent the spreading of forest fires. The cork trees in the cork plantations in Portugal, They are called montados. Montados are vast fields of cork trees that kind of look like this. And there's a very low land underneath them, very shrubby land underneath them. And these montados will be found south of the Tagus River. The Tagus River is the river that is in Lisbon, but it comes from Spain. So south of the Tagus is where you'll find most of the cork plantations. And just so you have an idea, 200,000 tons of cork are produced per year, of which 100,000 are produced in Portugal, slightly over. So between Portugal and Spain, we hold 3/4 of the production of cork in the world. 8% of the Portuguese territory, so 8% of our land, is covered with montados, these type of fields. And most of them will be in the Alentejo region. These fields also, besides cork production, are a wonderful place for animals to be protected, to feed. The trees, once they're 15 to 20 years old, they produce an oval acorn like this one. And that's one of the reasons that I think my tree is probably 8, I would say, because it's so small and it hasn't produced anything. But you know, these numbers, they're not 100% fact, because if the tree is watered, it will grow faster, it will produce faster. If it's on a lighter, sandier soil, it will produce also faster and grow faster. So, and it doesn't like frost at all. So all of these factors will help the tree to develop. And you can see the black pork, which is very typical for the presunto in Portugal as well. The sheep, the cows, all of these animals, they live amongst these montados. And this is also one of the main usages of these areas and these fields. Most of the usage of cork, the most commercial value of the cork oak is to produce cork. And I'm going to explain how this happens. But before that, so you understand, the wood can be used, but it's not used so much because it's very hard and heavy. But it was used for shipbuilding, and it can be used now for flooring. It's no longer used for shipbuilding anymore. But the main usage is precisely to produce cork. And what happens with the cork production is you have to open the bark of the tree. So it has to be opened, and it has to be separated. So you can see in this picture here how it's separated. And then it's divided. And once it's divided, it's extracted from the tree. You can see the pieces extracted, fully removed. And then you're left with a naked trunk and all of the bark that was removed to a certain level. The tree can only be touched. This can only happen once the tree is 25 years old, because at that time, the tree will have at least a 70-centimeter perimeter in the trunk, measured at about 1.3 meters from the ground. So these are very precise measurements that have to be taken into consideration. And this happens more or less when the tree is 25 years old. So only at 25 will the tree be, will return on its investment. And the cork that is removed at that time is a virgin cork. It's very hard, it's heavy. It doesn't have a good structure. So it's not used for cork stoppers. It's used for other types of materials, flooring, insulation, that sort of thing. And here I'm going to show you what it looks like. When you have a sheet of cork, you're going to see this sort of aspect, of feature. Here you can tell there's a lot of lines. It's not really smooth. And you can see on the top one, it's very smooth. This is an expensive piece of cork. This one and the bottom one here. So once that's done the first time, the tree has to rest for 9 years. And only after 9 years will there be a second removal of the bark. a second extracting. And this one, it'll have better quality, but it still doesn't have perfect quality for cork stoppers. So only in the third removal, another 9 years, the tree is 43 years old, more or less. Only then do you have quality cork for cork stoppers. And that was the main usage of cork, making cork stoppers for bottles of wine. And why? Because they, years ago, they discovered that the wine would remain and would stay better when they used a cork stopper to preserve it. The flavoring would last and they wouldn't ruin the wine. So once the bark is removed, it's hard to notice maybe on these pictures, but you can actually, if you have a real piece in front of you, you can see the seasons of the year and the 9 years on the lines on this bark, because there are darker lines that are winter. So that means it was raining and the cork gets darker. And then you see a lighter line, which is summer and spring. And then you see another couple of lines, that's the second year, and you go on and on and on, and you can actually count the 9 years, winter and summer, on a perfect piece of cork bark, which is pretty cool. The cork oak, you can tell its age when you have to cut a piece of the trunk, or preferably if a branch falls off, you can check the trunk and you can cut a piece and look at the circles from the center to the outside. Every circle is 10 years, and that's how you can tell the age of the tree. And it's very difficult to tell an age, obviously, unless you know it, unless you've planted the tree, because cork trees, the sobreiro, is protected by law. It's protected since the Middle Ages. It's prohibited to cut a tree. And still, the Portuguese government and legislation protect these trees and do not allow bad management to be done, do not allow in any way for the tree to be stripped before its 9 years have passed. Oh, sorry. One of the things I forgot to mention here that's rather important, you can tell the tree is marked. It's got a number. Here you can see a 4, and on this one, you have a number 9. And basically what the number means is, this number 9 here, this picture was actually taken by one of the other team members of Explorer X here in Portugal, Edgar. He has a montado right near his house. And this number 9, it's the last digit of the year when the tree was, when the bark was removed. So that means these trees had their bark removed in 2019. And I didn't mention that this process, it's an ancestral process, the removing of the bark, and it can't be done by just anyone. It has to be done by someone who's extremely experienced and someone who really knows what they're doing. They have to be careful because they cannot touch the trunk of the tree in any way. They can't harm the tree in any way. This is a process that's done without ever affecting the tree. And you'll never imagine what these people are called. They're called strippers. And here you can see, once the barks are removed, the barks have to stay for 6 months, more or less, to dehydrate. So you can see they're all still a bit round and they're dehydrating. And in the back, they are already pretty much dehydrated and you can see they flattened out. Once that's taken care of and done, they go into a factory and they are boiled at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. They're boiled completely to remove any impurities. And this will also flatten them out even more. Once that's done, they have people checking each piece and making sure they're not infected in any way, making sure they're absolutely perfect and they can go into the commercial business. And that will be making cork stoppers, among many other things. And here you can see how cork stoppers are made. It's actually a little machine that punches a hole through the bark, through the perfect piece of bark that came out from the tree and went through the process that I mentioned. and this little machine punches a hole. So sometimes you have these really, really perfect pieces of cork that will make beautiful cork stoppers. Sometimes you don't have really perfect pieces, and what happens is this piece of cork or thin pieces of bark will be processed, they will be granulated, and they'll make a cork stopper with, and I'm going to show you because I have a cork stopper here, the two tips of the cork stopper will be real full cork, so discs of cork that are cut, and the interior inside will be the granulated pressed cork that is shredded up. And as you can imagine, these pieces go into recycling. They'll make flooring or whatever other material. A hotel in the city of Porto, in the north of Portugal, actually had a really cool idea. They used this and made a decorative piece over their bar with lighting, and it's full of these remains from making cork stoppers. The whole entire, it's a huge piece over the entire bar. It's so cool, and it really brings in the wine and the tradition and how important cork is to our economy, really. So now I'm going to show you a number of things that I also have here in cork. And before we get into that, cork is used for so many things. I mean, the humans really are creators and inventors. This is a hotel, it's called the E-Cork Hotel, and it's fully cladded with cork on the outside. Cork cladding is made from recycled cork stoppers. So, or insulation for the interior, or decorating walls. Many hotels now actually have full walls covered in cork or full flooring covered in cork. But this is the whole outside of the hotel, which is pretty cool. And this is modern furniture that was made from cork. This is 100% cork. And cork is waterproof. It helps insulate and retain temperature. Many fashion designers and top watch producers used cork to create skirts and dresses. This is from Kevin Freeman, and this is a Prada bag and a Bobo Bird watch. I don't know if you can notice the watch. The interior of the watch is compressed cork, and the exterior of the watch is actual, it's like leaves of cork. And for you to understand, so what are leaves of cork? Well, I have cork paper here. And this is, imagine having that beautiful piece of cork. There are really, really thin, I mean, this is incredible, really thin pieces of cork cut. They're millimeters. I don't even think this is a millimeter, I'm not sure, but it's so thin and it's glued onto paper. So this is used as cork paper. You can make book covers from it. You can really just create whatever. And this is done with paper and this is done with fabric. So that's how they make the dresses. They'll glue the cork onto dresses or any other type of material. I used to have a backpack that I don't have anymore, but it was made out of cork, just like this. And this is cork fabric. It's for documents, for something small, for pens. This is actually my daughter's. And so the fabric is inside, and the cork, the very beautiful, clean cork, is on the outside. And this can actually be washed in a normal washing machine, and it doesn't get ruined, which is pretty amazing. Something fun that our daughter made for us for Christmas was this heart with the cork stoppers, and the back is nice and flat to put a hot pan on. And this will never burn, it will never get ruined, and you can just put something hot from the oven, from the stove on top of this, and you'll protect your table because the cork will help. This is something that is very old. This was made years ago, stuff that grandparents have, which is kind of, I don't know, you could call it a bowl. and I use it to, I can't let them fall, to put in my chicken eggs, because that's the beauty of living in the countryside. We have our chickens, ducks, turkeys, and we get our eggs every day. And I use this to put our eggs in, and I actually have some strawberries in here too from my vegetable garden. So you can imagine that living in Portugal is absolutely wonderful when you have all of these things. This here is big, and I don't know if you can see it very well, but this is also from my grandmother's. I found it in her house and decided to bring it home with me because I'm a little eclectic with my decor, and I love having different types of things and things that remind me of something and remind me of family. So this was used to put honey in, stored honey inside, and there was a bottom part, because you can see through it. There was a bottom part, obviously, or the honey would run away. So this was used to put honey inside and to preserve the honey, so people would have it throughout the year. And I use it as a decorative piece in the living room. What other things? I'm trying to think if I forgot. Oh, one interesting thing about cork that I had mentioned, the 43 years when the cork is fully productive. Well, it starts at 25, and then only at 43 do you get quality cork. Well, you can imagine, why would someone invest in cork? Because they're going to wait for the longest time to get a return on investment. Well, in honesty, someone who invests in cork has to make sure he has grandchildren and is a really great grandfather or grandmother, because they're investing in their family's future, for sure. So I think I've covered most of the topics on cork. Maybe you'll have some questions. If I've forgotten anything, you can ask. And just to say, stay safe with cork. When you come to Portugal, we'll be sure to provide you with one of these, and you'll be fashionable and safe.
Thank you so much, Paula. That was amazing. So informative. I didn't realize all the different things that come from cork, or the whole process. It's fascinating. We do have a few questions for you.
Okay.
The first was, has the trend towards screw top wine bottles had an impact on the cork industry?
Well, in Portugal, we don't use screw top bottles. It's very difficult to find. I'm sure you'll find maybe a couple, probably more mixed wines. It hasn't really affected so much, only because there have been so many developments with cork. It's used for so many things, and many older houses, because in Portugal, our houses are constructed from bricks, so they're a bit cold. And a lot of older houses have actually started to use cork cladding outside. So cork has entered such a diversified commercial production that it's no longer fully dependent on the cork stoppers. So that really won't affect. But in Portugal, we're not keen on not having wine in a bottle with a cork stopper.
Thank you. Let's see. Michael, did you have any other questions?
I mean, I think, Paula, there's a couple of questions that are coming in here. Let's talk a little bit, just step back a little bit and talk a little bit more about the country in general. We've had hours and hours of conversations over the past few months and years about Portugal and all the special places. Is there one or two regions of Portugal that you sort of are most passionate about and that you can share and tell some of our travelers about?
Well, I'm very passionate about the north of Portugal, and I may be a bit biased in that sense because I'm actually from there. So I'm from the very, very, very north, almost near the Spanish border, the town called Viana do Castelo, which in Portuguese, literally translated, it means I saw Anna from the castle. And it's a beautiful city. It's a city, it's very small, but it's gorgeous. There's a temple on a hill on the very top of the city that reminds, well, the architecture is very similar to the Sacré-Cœur in Paris. I was actually married there, so it's very close to my heart. And I really, really love the city, the ocean view, the food. The food is amazing everywhere. And I love the north also because of the green wine. The green wine is from the very north, and it's a very delicious and easy to drink wine. Also, well, I mentioned the food, but there are very typical dishes from the north that are delicious. And there are very small towns that are not touristy at all. And they will give you a sense of Portugal and a sense of the community. There's a bunch of little towns, Arcos de Valdevez, Ponta Barca, Ponte de Lima. These towns are all very close together, and they're worth visiting. And there's a number of experiences that can be enjoyed. Some nature walks, taking a donkey and going for a nature walk, learning how to make corn bread. And there's still a mill that actually smashes the corn and makes the flour, grinds the corn and makes the flour. And you can make the bread with the traditional oven, wood oven. So all of these experiences are super, super interesting. There's another cool thing up north, not so close to where I live, which is called a fantastic cable. It's the third largest slide in Europe. So for those who are into adrenaline, they can do this up there, and it's super fun.
All right, we've got a bunch of questions coming in here. It sounds like you've inspired several people to want to actually move to Portugal. So at some point you can share a little bit more, either now or later, about how a U.S. citizen can become a resident of Portugal. We've got actually two questions like that.
There's a thing called golden visas. I'm not so much into that because for me it's easy. I have dual citizenship. I have American citizenship and Portuguese. But it's not really that difficult because as a country, Portugal is, one thing I didn't mention that's very important on the Global Peace Index, we're number 3. So we're one of the safest countries in the world to travel to live in, to be in. We're very pacific and very calm people. So many Europeans, Northern Europeans and Americans, and I have to say, recently I received an email from an American couple that was thinking of friends that are thinking of moving here, and were actually asking me also, where they can go. And most people tend to go to the Alentejo or the Algarve because it's warmer, and generally it rains very little there. The north of Portugal is rainier and greener, and a bit cooler as well.
So, okay, so extending that out, are there times of year that you like visiting Portugal, based on temperatures and things like that, better than others, or is it sort of a year-round destination?
I would say it's a year-round destination, but then obviously it depends on if you're a sun person, if you don't mind a little bit of rain. It doesn't rain as much in Portugal as it did when I was a child, even though not growing up here. We were always told that, oh my God, it's raining again, and it would just rain, rain, rain. But now this doesn't happen. We've had very, very mild winters. But I would say, looking at the past few years, it's rained quite a bit in April. It rains a bit in October, November, but that's a bit on and off. Most of the summer months and spring, early fall are very good months to come to Portugal. Avoiding maybe August would be the most touristy in certain areas, and the rest of the months will work out just fine. But if you're okay with not having a full sunshine day every single day, you can really come all year round. The winters aren't that cold. Celsius, it's about 10 degrees, 9-10 degrees in the winter. So it's not so bad.
We got another question about beaches and the temperature of the water. How warm is the water throughout the year?
That's a good question. I don't like cold water. The beaches in the north are very cold, and the beaches in the Algarve are very reasonable. they'll be around, and I'm sorry for saying the temperature in Celsius, I'm just so used to it. It's around 22 to 24 degrees Celsius in the Algarve. It's gotten to 25 some years, which is not that normal. But keep in mind, we have the islands, the Azores and the Madeira Islands. So the Azores will normally have a year-round ocean temperature of around 22, which is very reasonable. And in the summer, they'll go up to 24. And the Madeira Island will be around the 24s in the summer as well. And I mean, we're not a winter beach destination, so the water is cold in the winter. You're gonna want to use go to beaches in the summer for sure. And stay maybe center of Portugal towards the south. The Vicentine coast along the Alentejo region is also a gorgeous, gorgeous region of the country. We have an amazing beach only an hour from Lisbon, which is Comporta. You may have heard of, because it's become rather popular. And that's one of the longest extensions of sandy beach that we have. It's absolutely gorgeous. The temperature there in the summer will be around 20, 22 on good days. So, and that's a perfect beach to go to if you want to stay in Lisbon and just enjoy the day. And then, as I was saying, the Alentejo coast has amazing beaches, but they're smaller beaches. And then in the Algarve, the whole Algarve is full of beach. It's just beautiful. What we love the most, the beaches in the Algarve are halfway in the Algarve towards the Spanish coast. That's also where the water is warmest. And you have many lovely boutique properties.
So quick translation or conversion is like 20 is about 68 Fahrenheit. So you're talking 22, you know, like 72 to 78 up to 25 Celsius.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds quite
that will be
sounds quite nice, yeah. What are some of the, here's another question that came in, you mentioned the Algarve. What are some of the smaller towns that you like to visit or that we like to send travelers to in the Algarve?
In the Algarve, we like Tavira, Almancil. Lagos is on the other side, but Lagos is also very beautiful and where you have the most Instagrammed caves as well. What we love the most is towards the Tavira side, Almancil, and Vila Real de Santo Antonio, the last town before going into Spain. And that last town is absolutely adorable. It's tiny. From these areas here, you can get to deserted beaches or these deserted sandbanks on the coast, right off the coast. And those can be visited by boat. And they don't have any service like a bar or anything there, but you'll feel like you're, you know, in a private location and just enjoy the gorgeous water and the gorgeous sand without too many people around. Obviously in the summer, more people will go, but not as many as the other beaches that are easier to get to and more accessible. So these are the towns that we really think are beautiful, but there are many other lovely towns. There's a town called Sines, which has an amazing castle and a great medieval festival every year. And that's also an interesting town to visit.
It's one of the things I love about Portugal, and you know, when we send folks there, it's, you know, there's Lisbon, there's Porto, but and then there's like all of these tiny little spectacular, beautiful little extraordinary towns all up and down the coast and in the Alentejo, and it's so fun to just, you know, we self-drove, and I know a lot of our travelers do self-drive, but like just stopping into a little town and just exploring, grabbing a coffee and grabbing a bite to eat. And it's so welcoming and open. That was probably the most fun that I had there, was just popping in these little towns.
Yes. And discovering a restaurant that's off the beaten track and just enjoying some time there. There's amazing, beautiful Alentejo towns, and you'll always find castles everywhere. We have a great number of castles and forts, and there are two amazing forts, one in the north, Almeida, and another one in the town of Elvas. They're star-shaped, so they're absolutely cool. Also a fun thing to do in the Alentejo are hot air balloon rides and stargazing. So many experiences to enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when I was there in November, one of the highlights of the trip, top 2 or 3, was Edgar was like, you got to stop in Evermonte, and so we did, and went up to the top, the old Moorish castle or whatever, right? And then stopped at the little restaurant where they have a 4-bedroom hotel as well. And we got to meet the owners, and the woman was from Scotland, I think, the owner, and then her husband was from South Africa. And we just sat down and had some wine and, some appetizers with them, overlooking the entire Alentejo, countryside. And it was just, but that's the kind of thing that you can do throughout the country.
Yeah,
So.
That's one of the things that you can do in Portugal. That's wonderful. And one of the things that I love about Portugal is I think that you really get the new luxury here, which is time. And when you travel, you feel relaxation. You feel like you have more time, especially in the south of Portugal. Everything is a bit more slow paced and relaxed, and eating takes forever. So you really get to enjoy and relax and enjoy great wine. And I love Alentejo wine, so.
Yes. We've got a question about Sintra here. I know it's become increasingly popular to visit. What are your thoughts on Sintra? Is it overrated? Is it over touristed? Or is it still a place that really holds some special meaning?
I think it's not overrated, but it for sure is over tourist. So there are way too many people all of the time there, especially in the summer. Going into some of the monuments is a bit of a hassle. Something cool that can be done is visiting the Pina Palace exclusively in private after hours. Of course, it'll be a little expensive, but getting a whole palace for yourself is a pretty cool thing, and not having to deal with anyone. I still think it's a beautiful place to visit. There are many amazing parks to walk and to hike in. There's also a very cool thing in Sintra, which is called the Capucho Convent or the Cork Convent. So the convent actually has a bunch of insulation in the interior and decor with cork pieces. So when it was built, it was used actually to insulate. But there are so many beautiful places to visit, the Regaleira Park, that I honestly think are worth it. I myself go to Sintra very often because there's an amazing pastry shop there called Periquita, and it has the Travesseiro de Sintra, which is this long phyllo pastry, and inside it's got egg yolk. It's just so delicious that it's worth going to Sintra on purpose and getting that very busy pastry shop, which is very small, and going in there, buying some, and just running out, and especially if they're warm, oh, it's wonderful. It's worth it.
Cool, Paula. We're gonna try to wrap up here in just a few minutes. I have one question for you, maybe rapid fire response. We've planned a lot of really, really fun and very unique experiences for people. Are there 2 or 3 that maybe stand out that are very like off the beaten path that most travelers don't get a chance to do, but we are also able to provide them with?
Well, I would say most people don't get to do that show cooking experience at Torre de Palma, which is really amazing and very, very worth it. And for myself, discovering when I went there to see it, because we do try everything before our clients go, and just learning new culinary tips is super exciting. And I would say the biking in Douro Valley with a boat ride and visiting very different small boutique wine estates is very, very wonderful. It's a beautiful experience, just biking and then getting on the boat and seeing that gorgeous scenery in the Douro Valley, and then going and visiting a wine estate, enjoying some wine. Very worth it.
Robin, do you want to do some trivia?
Sure. That was great, Paula. Thank you so much. So yeah, let's do some trivia. So again, the first person to answer correctly in the chat box, this is not in the Q&A, this is in the chat box, will win the Explorer X branded Yeti. So the question is, How long do you have to wait until you can remove the first bark from the cork tree for production? Okay. It looks like we have a winner. Annette Tome, 25 years. That is correct. So congratulations, Annette. You're our winner. And I will be following up with you with the prize after this webinar.
Awesome. Thanks, Robin. Congrats, Annette. Awesome. We are going to wrap up. We're coming up on an hour here. So we do want to let you guys go and get back to your days. A couple quick notes before we head out. One, our team and Paula are working to put together one of these scheduled small group journeys to Portugal in 2022. So we're just sort of in the beginning stages of crafting that experience. But details will be coming hopefully soon. If you want to stay in the know about that, just send us a quick email, or you can go to our small group journeys page on our website, and there's a little button on Portugal that will say keep me posted or keep me updated. You can click on that, and then it'll send us a little note to put you on the mailing list to make sure that you're first to know once that trip is ready to go. If you do have specific questions about Portugal, you can always email us at portugal@explorer-x.com. If you have general inquiries about Explorer X and everything that we do and the types of travel that we put together for people, you can email us at travel@explorer-x.com. Obviously, you can visit our website, follow us on social media at GoExplorerX. Next Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, we are going to be hosting our team from Ireland. So please stay tuned and stop in for that one. It's going to be a pretty amazing adventure and experience. And I think that's it. Robin, anything else?
Nope, that is it.
And Dan, yes, Fred does have a head, and he is very calm and he's very passed out. So Fred says hi, Dan.
I like how he has a smile on his face too.
He always does. So, so cool. Well, guys, everyone, thanks so much for attending. Paula, awesome. Thank you so very much. It's great to see you again. Oh, I think you're on mute, but.
You as well.
Yeah, it was great. This is awesome. We'll reach out, and again, if anyone wants to contact Paula and our team in Portugal, just reach out to us, portugal@explorer-x.com. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.